AM 560, The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer. Well, this article has been a wealth of information, and I cannot wait to talk to Anna Giaritelli, and hopefully I pronounced that correctly, Anna, from the Homeland Security reporter for the Washington Examiner. Is that right, Giaritelli?
You got it right, yeah, Chris.
Woo-hoo! Okay, so this article, Trump's first year spent arresting the worst of the worst. My first thing I want to say is this. The mainstream media lies and says it's very few and there's a lot more people that are being cuffed and stuff that aren't. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. But first, my reaction is I don't care if they have any record. I want them out of here. You know, an unprecedented invasion of 8 to 20 million people in 4 years begets an unprecedented deportation, because if we don't, then the next Democrat president and the next will keep doing the invasion, knowing at least half will be able to stay, which will help fill up the seats for in the blue states for getting more reapportionment or representation. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I hear you. Under the Trump administration, he's so far saying that nearly 600,000 people have been arrested across the country, and another 1.9 million have chosen to voluntarily leave the country, so self-deport. For about a total of 2.5 million. That's a pretty big number for year one.
Yes.
It is true, yeah.
And that rivals, if not matches, the worst year under Biden of the invasion, right? 2.5 million?
Yeah. You know your numbers.
That's great. That's good to hear. Okay. Now, break this down for me, because you're saying that of the 600,000 we've cuffed and stuffed for deportation, about 70% have been criminals. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so with information provided to us by the Department of Homeland Security showed that 70% of that 600,000 had criminal histories. And what that means is they were either previously convicted of a crime in the United States, or they were currently pending charges, so waiting to go before a judge, waiting to go to trial. So they haven't been convicted yet. And so that's why we have to use that term criminal histories, not necessarily criminals. It's certainly an indicator, not great people.
Yes, and you kind of bring up two different people. You want to tell us about these two different people who, on paper, look like they've either barely committed any offense whatsoever, nothing violent, or no offense, but yet there's bad news about them. Tell me about those couple of folks and what else you know about all these people that don't show up as having a criminal record, but have pending stuff, for example.
Yeah, this was the biggest obstacle for Border Patrol during the Biden administration, people coming over the border, and we can only screen people against the U.S. databases and countries that share their criminal information with us. So for countries like Venezuela and Cuba, we don't know people's criminal records. So that's why we say only the criminal records here. In some instances, ICE was sharing that, people without criminal histories in the U.S. actually have criminal histories in other countries. And so, for someone getting arrested and their family says they're not a criminal here, they don't have a record, that person might have a record back home. So there was one example, I believe he was from El Salvador, and he had he was wanted back home for aggravated homicide. And so no criminal history here, but back in his home country, aggravated homicide and other charges.
So our mainstream media would say he's a migrant. That's it. He's just a migrant. But you say
does look like that.
Yes,
he has a serious criminal history.
And you know what else too? I'm looking at his picture. By the way, I'm looking at his picture that you have in your article, and I see a nice tattoo on his face. It says 666 on his forehead, and then he's got a tattoo on his lip and on his chin and on his cheeks. Looks like a great guy. He's just a migrant. Go ahead. Who's the other person you got there?
The other one was a commercial truck driver from Uzbekistan. And we've seen ICE this year really take an active stance on screening truck drivers. A lot of states are giving out commercial truck driver's licenses.
Yes.
To we don't know how many illegal immigrants at this point. And the issue is people are taking these tests and passing them when we're finding out they actually don't know how to drive on the roads. They've caused a number of accidents. They can't read English in some cases, so street signs and interacting with the public is difficult. But this one gentleman they pulled over who had such a license, he's from Uzbekistan, and he was wanted for ties to a terrorist organization. And so, again, not a criminal in the United States, but his home country said, we have serious concerns about him and we'd like him sent back so he can face those charges.
And again, the left would say, and the mainstream media would say, he's a migrant and he's taking these jobs and it's good. He's working. He just wants to pay his taxes. Yes, he wants to pay his taxes and yell Allahu Akbar, is what it seems on this guy. So, do you know, have you come across the numbers on the overall percentage of illegals in general that have criminal convictions or criminal charges?
And that's a tough question, right? Because are we talking about the U.S. or all total?
Yeah, the U.S., like the approximation of all the illegals, whether they're in custody or not, whether we found them or not, what percentage of them have criminal records other than the crime of coming in illegally?
Yeah, but President Trump. President Trump estimated as a candidate this cycle that there was between 500,000 and a million. As of 2023, the official estimate was that there were 14 million illegal immigrants in the country. And that number obviously is debated, especially among conservatives who believe it's higher.
Yeah.
So we don't know, frankly.
The mainstream media claims the numbers and they love this. They get these numbers, they brag about them, and they put them in there to try to shame our side. And the mainstream media claims that the number of illegals that have criminal records that are being deported is extremely low. What's the disparity there between them and what you're reporting here?
Yeah, they're saying that people who are being arrested and deported don't have criminal records, and that it's true. Some people who are simply in the country illegally are being arrested and deported, and there's nothing illegal about that. The immigration law, federal law says the government can enforce the law against you, even if you don't have a criminal record. And so White House border czar Tom Homan told me last December there's going to be collateral arrests. There's going to be incidents where, because we can't go in jails in most cities across the country because they won't work with ICE, or we have to make an arrest of somebody, they have other people with them, and we're going to check their immigration status, and we're going to end up finding out that other people with them are in the country illegally, and we might take them into custody and put them through deportation proceedings as well. So, yeah, it is happening. But I think the point that the administration keeps trying to hammer down is we really are going after the worst of the worst, but it certainly doesn't sit well with immigrant advocates who, they see the examples of people who aren't criminals who are being arrested and removed.
So the other thing here is your report says, in addition to criminals, Trump administration is stating its desire to remove illegal immigrants who have already been ordered by a federal immigration judge to be deported. Second of all, and by the way, we just had that with this Pakistani guy who's been here illegally in Chicago for like 30 years. He owns a Subway sandwich shop, and he's got some medical issues. His family's like begging and pleading and trying to do stuff in the media, but it doesn't matter because he had an order for deportation, a final order like years and years ago. Just because you've been here for 30 years and you own and run a Subway shop and people think you're a great guy doesn't mean you need to get out of here. I mean, it's a final order of deportation. But they say, in addition to the criminals, in your report, you say, they've also removing illegal immigrants who have already been ordered by a federal immigration judge to be deported. And at last count, you say 1.5 million people have been ordered deported but have yet to be removed. So is that kind of the second priority of the Trump administration, to remove people with final orders of deportation?
Yes, and that's part of the non-criminal population that we are seeing. It's really difficult to go after one person by one person, which is what they're having to do. ICE has 6,500 officers who specifically deal with arrests and removals. There are millions of people in the country that they're targeting, right?
Right.
And so they're, going one by one, but that certainly is, the second priority. And they're already making no progress on it. But I think that would even come with even more challenges for the administration publicly defending it. Because, again, the folks on the left and immigrant advocates are going to say, well, there's no criminal record. But then you say, but they had an order, a judge has ordered them to be removed. So it's not even the Trump administration making a decision. It's a judge has ordered this to happen.
In late spring, you report Stephen Miller, obviously in charge of a lot of stuff with the White House, chief of staff for the policy of the White House. Stephen Miller said target illegal immigrants at courthouses, farms, Home Depots, 7-Elevens, expanding arrests, and sometimes the type of person arrested. An attorney and policy analyst for the Migration Policy Institute explains that encouraged ICE officers to go to places they have not historically targeted to make arrests, to more arrests of people without criminal records. Now, to which I want to ask you this: why is that a problem? Second of all, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of these Home Depot raids that they have been doing, there's a lot of people that are rounded up. Some are just illegals, but there's a lot of people that are rounded up that have records. We stumble across people during enforcement action, particularly at these random Home Depot stops. You'll find a decent percentage of them have criminal records in addition to being illegal. So, but why is it a problem to be able to go to Home Depot, 7-Eleven, etc.?
Yeah, it's a problem for people who just disagree with the approach, right? And since Stephen Miller and DHS Secretary Christino made that decree to ICE, what we've seen is Border Patrol get involved. So ICE is in the interior of the country, Border Patrol is at the border, and they've historically never been involved with arresting people inside the country and removing them. And over the summer, we saw Border Patrol come into the picture, help out with arrests in Los Angeles, as well as Portland, Chicago, Washington, D.C., et cetera. And the difference there is Border Patrol has more freedom. They're taking a broader approach. They're the ones who are actually going into Home Depot parking lots and certain areas like that. Whereas ICE already has the name of the person they're looking for, and they're going to find that person.
That's interesting. I didn't know. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah,
that's fascinating.
So, and an easy way to know, I mean, the back of everyone's uniforms has their agency. The Border Patrol is always going to be in green. And so they're commonly mistaken for ICE. And so I haven't seen ICE at any Home Depot in any of the pictures, and I see these every single day. But it's typically Border Patrol at large making arrests that seem random. But the thing is, too, when, people often misconstrue arrest and detainment. So if they pick you up in a Home Depot parking lot, put you in the back of a squad car, you haven't been arrested yet. You're being detained while they confirm your identity. So, and that's, U.S. citizens can be caught up in that, and there would be nothing wrong with that.
By the way, Anna Giaritelli from the Washington Examiner, I appreciate you coming on. The other thing is, when the lie that ICE or Border Patrol is disappearing American citizens. No, when they are obfuscating, interfering with an investigation, blocking, chasing, etc., the officers, and they're arrested for obstruction, hindering, etc., then that's not disappearing. You're getting arrested for violating federal law, right?
Yes, you are, and you may face charges. And we've seen actually the charges that have been pursued by the Department of Justice against people who are interfering or assaulting agents specifically. Most of them are getting watered down or dropped. And so it's a little disappointing, I think, for the Trump administration to be dropping a lot of those charges, actually.
Who's doing the dropping? Is that the judges?
No, it is the prosecutor. So it is the Department of Justice.
Why do you think they're doing that? Do you know?
It's just extremely common in those types, or I should say all types of cases, for charges to be, they might not have adequate evidence. In some situations, Border Patrol has exaggerated situations where assaults might have taken place, or there was interference, or they're just, what's the word here? just watering down the charges. So instead of, a first degree, a more serious type of thing, they're saying, yeah, it was a third degree, but we'll make it a misdemeanor, not a felony. Just as a way to get someone to plead guilty and make it move through the system quicker, rather than if they don't plead guilty, then you have to go to trial and it takes longer.
Anna Giaritelli, I appreciate you very much from the Washington Examiner. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Well, we learned some good stuff there. All right, Chicago's mayor, the CWB Chicago writes, curfews were a sin of the past until Ryan Seacrest came to town. That's next. It's Chris Crock filling in for Dan Proft. He's back Monday on News Talk on AM 560. The Answer, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station.